Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our call today. Today we're going to be talking to Jessica, and I think Mirko is going to be joining us at some point. Ask them to jump on here because they've done a really great job the last couple of weeks kind of pivoting their focus and their business and their activities to work really well in the market of the moment, which is, all the stuff we're all dealing with. So let's just jump right in. Jessica, why don't you tell us what your guys' businesses look like over the last few weeks, and what are some things that you've done to be more effective with everything that's going on and stay connected to your clients, and more importantly, keep moving your business forward?
So we've talked a lot about mindset, and for me specifically, I tend to be like a worrier person, and I don't know what happened, but like 4 days ago, I just had a completely shift of my mindset where I am not worried, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I feel like I cannot control this corona thing. I can only control what I do, what Mirko he controls what he does, but you get what I'm saying. We can only control what we do to generate business. So I am strictly focusing on what can I do, what can we do to help grow. So I'm literally seeing this, I'm viewing the positivity and I'm viewing the opportunity. And as far as positivity goes, I feel for me, it's easier to have conversations with people. I am calling everybody, every single past sale. And typically I'm relatively good with staying in contact with people who I've closed. But I am calling people even if I haven't talked to them in a while, and they are so happy to hear from us, where I have basically my script that I'm reaching out again, coming from contribution, as we've all done. And I've said, hey, how are you? I first check in to see if they're healthy and fine. And when I hear the good news that they are healthy and fine, then I can kind of at least tag in a joke, because that's just my personality. Oh, you need any toilet paper? I live right down the road from you. And then I start thinking, the gears start turning. I'm like, gosh, I could use this for hurricane season. I could call people up. Hey, how are you doing? You need water? You need a generator? I mean, not really, but just being positive, and people, they're craving that human connection. And I actually find it much easier to be making these calls. It's like the weather. That's all anyone talks about anyway. You meet somebody on the street, and hey, how's that Rona? Whatever, it's easier to have those conversations.
And I think, I hear that from so many, like Nikki was here yesterday just picking up some paperwork and stuff. And I was asking her how things are going. And she said that she's had her whole team calling the backlog of old leads that are in the database, right? Ones that we never serviced or never came to fruition. And she said in the last week, her team calling leads that were an average of about 3 years old, 3-year-old leads and contacts in the database that hadn't been talked to in 3 years, put 6 deals under contract in the last week, just calling those people. So you're absolutely right. You guys have more time on your hands right now because maybe you're not out running around as much. Now's the time to really dig deep on that database, on those old leads that you have. I've talked to so many agents who said, well, all these contacts and all these leads, and I haven't talked to them in so long. Now's the opportunity to do that, because there is absolutely opportunity to service them right now. Cool.
So I'm also reading a book called, I know we're all reading The Shift, and I am too, but I'm also reading a book called It's Not About You. It's like a guide to a meaningful life, and it's about coming from contributions from Tom Rath. It's also just kind of uplifting to read something that, especially during this time when, you see people in the stores and they're hoarding, and it's almost feels like everyone's thinking selfishly, but, we do have to shift and think, okay, there are people who are genuinely scared. There are people who are, maybe have a family member who's sick and dealing with this, that, it's also a good book I've been enjoying.
So there's a question in the chat. Are you using any particular scripts that I know you're more kind of just conversational when you talk to people, but are you finding through those conversations that you've kind of created some scripts that you're using when you're making those calls you could share with the group?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have one written down, but typically what I say when somebody answers, or if I'm leaving a voicemail, I said, hey, it's Jessica Uglik with Suncoast Home Experts and Keller Williams. I just wanted to call and check in to see how you're doing in this crazy world we live in. That's typically what I say all the time. People get a little chuckle and then they say, oh yeah, and they tell me how things are going. And I say, oh, well, do you guys have everything you need? I know the shelves here, depending on, typically I have notes taken. So I know where these people live. I know where, you know, maybe they planned on coming to Florida and maybe that's halted. So I have my notes from the last time I talked with them that they know that I remember them and everything. So, and then the conversation just kind of goes from there. And then of course they ask me, you know, how is it for you? And I just tell them, I said, well, you know, we have to change a little bit, but then at the same time, things are the same. As Laura was saying in her call, you know, we've been doing these videos. We have a lot of out-of-state clients who buy sight unseen, and we have to accommodate them because they can't come down. So we're just utilizing more of that. And then people kind of seem almost relieved when you tell them that, because in their mind, all they see is doom and gloom. And so when you're able to say, yeah, well, things are still working, things are still moving, people are still buying and selling, they almost feel relieved, like, oh, the world's not coming to an end. Good, things are still functioning. And they like to hear that.
Sure.
And it's funny because I will tell you, one of the strategies I'm doing, and I think everyone can do this, if you have any sellers that are currently under contract or that have recently closed, I know we always ask for referrals in business, but now more than ever, you can call those people who are about to close, your sellers, and people who just closed, to say, hey, you know, I've been doing a lot of conference calls with our association, whatever you want to say, and say, you know, I was thinking about you, and I'm so glad that you are selling at the right time because blah, blah, blah. Talk about the market and why they made a great decision. Say, you know, I wanted to ask you, do you know of anybody who, you know, has been thinking of selling or need to sell? Because I'm telling you, now is the perfect time. Like you took advantage. I would really love to help somebody else. Who do you know? I've asked that. Yesterday, I got 2 seller leads because I asked my current seller that's under contract. And then I asked, I called a random lead who was going to be coming to Florida and they didn't. And then, I don't know, we just got to chat and she's like, actually, my friend's going through a divorce and he needs to sell. I said, well, he should sell now and get top dollar. Like Laura said, well, we have the comps for the last 3 to 6 months. She goes, oh yeah, that's true. You can see the light bulbs going off. And like I said, I got 2 seller leads yesterday.
So let's go a little deeper on that, because I think that's really interesting. You're calling and you're kind of coming from a position of reassuring them about the fact that they either just sold a home, right, recently, or they're in the process of selling their home, because I'm sure that's a very daunting prospect for a lot of sellers right now. Like, is it the right time? Am I do I need to pull back? You know, they have all these doubts in their head. So you're calling and you're reassuring them, which is awesome, right? Because you're providing some security for them. Tell me a little bit more about what that conversation looks like. What are you? So when you say, "Hey, I'm so glad you're still listing your home at the right time. This is the perfect time to be doing it." A little deeper. What does that conversation look like?
I just basically, I say, I do mention, I say, we've been doing a lot of research because this is kind of an unusual time. But I am glad that you've taken advantage of the current state. And I just basically want to help anybody right now, because we do know that after this Corona thing passes, and it will, there might be a lot of people who are holding out and then they are going to wait. And then everybody's going to sell, which is going to increase the inventory, which is going to drive prices down. So I want to ask you, who can I help? If you know of anybody who's been thinking, I really want to help them and talk to them now, because this is the now opportunity. And I just tell them that, and then they start thinking and they're like, oh yeah. And they give you that information. And it also, you can tell that they feel good. They're like, yeah, I took advantage of the right time. And they also feel, because as you know, I've heard of people's deals falling apart. People are pulling things, people are deciding not to take. And if you can tell them that, they almost feel like, yeah, I got the good time, and it's true. It's true. You're not lying to them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. And I know Jamie's on the call this morning too. Jamie, you had a couple things you wanted to chat with Jessica about. Why don't you jump in whenever you're ready?
Hey, Jessica. How are you? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for being on. I do have a question. Can you take the agents and everyone through your daily routine with Miraco? Like, what's your typical?
Well, my routine is run by a 1.5-year-old that we have. Like everybody, we're cutting down some expenses. We had a nanny for 2 days a week, and that nanny also works for another family, and that family's a nurse. So for the safety of our family, we decided to not have her work for us during this time. And so it's Mirko and I back like how we did last year, tag teaming. So we wake up in the morning. I am able to get a couple, pages read of either of the books that I'm reading while Mirko gets Elodie ready for the day. And in the morning, he plays with her outside like he's doing now. I'm able to catch up on my phone calls. And then we just kind of tag team. I have set of who I want to call. Then he goes in the room and I play with her. So it's kind of a tag team. And then when she's sleeping for the sometimes 2 hours a day, then we both kind of tackle. So right now also we are getting on to asking for reviews. I know there's some of you out there who are amazing at asking for reviews from past clients, but if you're not, now's a good time because people are home and they might be on the internet anyway, and they're more likely to write that review for you that maybe they didn't before because they had just moved in and they're busy and they forgot about you anyway. So we're doing that and getting those testimonials and reviews in place. So that's also a good time to be utilizing that. If you have not been on top of getting your reviews, now it's a great time to ask for those. So that's I don't have a strict schedule. Unfortunately, Mirko and I have to tag team with Elodie. That's just how it is.
Well, I think that's really relevant because I know I've talked to a couple of agents with kids, and that's why I'm wanting to kind of get down to how you are being that mom and that entrepreneur businesswoman. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I really try not to have my phone in hand when I'm with her because as hard as that is, we know we can get a call at any time. I'll leave, depending on who's taking care of Elodie, whether it's me or Mirko, I give my phone to him or whatever so that he can manage both phones because I really try to give my undivided attention to Elodie during this time and really be engaged with her and have that quality time. So it's honestly like, we have our together time when she's napping or when she goes to bed, and that's early. And then throughout the day, we're separate because one of us is taking care of her and bonding with her, and the other one's kind of handling the business end. And that's just how we have to juggle.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you for jumping on. Thank you. I know we've got some questions coming up here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we got a lot of people who want to pick your brain about stuff. So I know that you said your schedule is a little chaotic because you guys are just kind of playing the house, having the baby at home and stuff, and everybody's in the house at the same time. So, but it sounds like you do have specific things kind of time blocked, right? Because those are the important things you need to be doing every day. What are the 2, 3, 4 things that are what's your 20% right now, right? What are the things you're doing that you make sure are getting done every day, regardless of what chaos is happening in your world with family time or environment stuff? What are the things you're focused on every single day?
I'm calling. I'm connecting to people and asking if they need anything, if they have everything, and if they're healthy and well. And I'm asking for referrals from people who know me, like me, trust me. I am asking for seller leads. The buyers, I know who they are. I get buyer leads. They'll be there. I'm asking for seller leads specifically because that's what I have the best script for as far as why it's a great time to sell now and not to wait. And that's my 20%. I'm literally calling everybody. I don't care if I have them in my database, I don't even know who they are. Because like I said, the conversation's easy because it's like talking about the weather. Everyone can talk about this Corona thing. I called a lead that I swear I don't even remember who she was in my database. And I found out that she was a nurse, and I had a whole long conversation with her about it. And now we bonded because I swear, I don't even think I had talked to her before, but she was in my database and I called, and she probably didn't know who I was, but then suddenly by the end of that call, we're best friends. Right. And I am a true believer that right now, I think everyone could see a little bit of a stall in their business, because maybe there are a lot of people who are waiting or putting things on hold, or, I know a lot of my Canadian buyers, the Canadian dollar is not great right now. They're not doing anything, but that doesn't matter because when all this is over, I have complete 100% faith that everything will boom after this is over. All these people and connections that I'm making with now, I'm their person. And I will quickly share something about being creative. Mirko and I are doing a lot of letters. Please don't underestimate the power of a letter. And I will give you an example. 6 to 8 months ago, I showed a home for a buyer who loved that house. They were going to submit an offer. Then that seller decided to take their home off the market. My buyer was like, oh my gosh, I tried everything, wouldn't work. Well, 8 months passed and my buyer still is in love with this house. I wrote those sellers a letter and they were off the market unconditional. So I felt it was okay to reach out, and I didn't call. I simply sent a letter handwritten, and I said, listen, 8 months ago, I showed your house to my buyer. They love it. They haven't found anything since. If you still are interested in selling, I have a buyer for you. Here's my number. Well, guess what? They called and I have them under contract now.
Yeah, so I mean, and I think that's not even something that's specific to the challenge.
No,
of working
in
from home.
general.
That's something you can do anytime of the year, but
Now we have more time to do it.
because you're in a mode where you're thinking outside the box, you're trying to get creative with your business, opportunities like that present themselves. So it's great that you're doing that now, and we can learn that there's always different ways for us to go about servicing our clients, finding business, and providing that service. So that's awesome.
Sharon, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, jump in.
Hey, Jess, what do you think that you're doing now? Like when you talked about having more time, will you continue to do what you're doing now, i.e. the letters, just making time for that even as you get more and more busy, just leveraging that out or something like that? What are you doing now that you will definitely not forget to do?
I think letters and cards, because people just remember that, especially now. And last Bold, when Elodie was really small, there was a AM card service was their vendor. And they said, oh, if you sign up now, you get a brownie. Well, I was hungry then and I did sign up. Okay. So I got my free brownie, but I kept yeah, well, whatever, food motivates me. So anyway, I got the brownie and I kept the service though, and I still use it. And just recently today, in everyone's mailbox of a neighborhood that I'm farming, I sold 2 houses that were neighbors in that neighborhood. I got both of them to write me a specific letter to their neighbors, and they gave me permission to put that in my card that I sent out to that neighborhood using that card service. It's a 5x7 card. It's not even a postcard. It looks and we designed the whole thing, and now everybody has that in their mailbox. So again, and I wrote even a letter. I said, these are unusual times. However, here's some words from your neighbors, blah, blah, blah. I'll see if anything comes out of it. I don't know. I sent 60 of them out. And those are things that I think I will continue to do because I like writing letters. I just enjoy it.
Jess, I actually use the same service, and when this thing first happened, I sent them out to my past clients, present clients, and future clients. The feedback was amazing. The text or the phone call or the email back saying, I got your card. It's an amazing service to use because I made it so personal by putting the difference of the coronavirus and the flu and cold, so everyone knew and all this stuff. So many people. So I'm sure, and I'm about to send out another one to my farm area to see what the outcome is too. So if you don't have AM cards, go to amcards.com and just sign up. Or Jessica, put your link out there for it.
Mm-hmm.
You get some credit for that too.
Well, what I'll do is, I know the guy that runs the company. I've met him in a few regional ones. I'll reach out to him and see if we can get some kind of discount for agents that want to sign up and try it. Because some people may want to do that, and it's already pretty cheap. But I'll reach out and see if he'll give us some kind of discount for agents that maybe want to try it out.
Usually,
sounds great.
$50 setup fee.
Yeah, he'll waive the fee. And we'll see. I'm sure he's looking for new clients right now, right? Because people are cutting expenses, so you might have lost some people. So I'll see if we can't get a good deal from him. Cool. Does anyone else have any questions they want to jump? This is the time. We got about 8 minutes left, so this is Q&A. I'd love for you guys to jump in and either share some awesome things you guys are doing and wins you're having, or ask Jessica some questions.
Hi, this is Marcia. You know, I do have a question from Jessica or anyone. When she had mentioned the seller, or the buyer that saw this house 8 months ago, and she wrote the letter and that. When you do that, is there a way just to get a buyer's end, or do you list and sell? Can we do either if we're trying to help somebody out right now? If you understand what I'm saying, I don't know if we can just be a.
So are you talking about so she had the buyer, and then
Yeah.
she wrote that letter to the person who was previously on the market just to inquire if they were still interested. Are you asking how she then facilitated the transaction, or?
Right. Yeah. How would you do that? Would you ask for a listing, or with times
Well,
are so tough right now?
I think I can answer that question pretty simply. You would just, in that case, you wouldn't necessarily need to go get a listing agreement. You could do a one-time commission agreement and just facilitate the
Okay.
transaction.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
at that
That's what
point you're
I
acting
did.
as a transaction broker because you're servicing both sides. So you could just do a
And-
commission agreement.
Okay.
what's-
Thanks. I do remember that.
And what's funny is it's been like the easiest transaction for both sides. Like it's not even been much of a headache at all. Both sides have been so great. And I think I don't know, the power of a letter. That's all I can say.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? We've got about 6 minutes left before we're going to jump out and do the shift call. So I'd love some more questions from the group.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, absolutely, Terry.
Hey, I was just wondering if anybody had any ideas of reaching out to businesses because they're, having their hard times, and would there be any creative thoughts or ways we could reach out to show that we care or we're still here? Any thoughts on that, if anybody's thought about how to reach out to the businesses that they use?
Well, let's open it up to the group first. I know Georgia shared a few things on one of our calls the other day, and I'll reiterate those, but I'd like to hear from the group first.
Hey, Terry. Oh, sorry, Ann. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ann.
That's all right, Maureen, go.
Terry, I was on a phone call with my mentor yesterday, and that subject came up. So one of the things that the group suggested was getting in touch with business owners and telling them that, you're a realtor and what you're trying to do is create a mastermind around how you are going to remargin your business in this time. And so you go to somebody who you know and you create that relationship, and then you ask them, who do you know who's also a business owner who might want to have this mastermind about remargining your business? And so you create a small group, and through that small group, this is probably born out of the original BNI, but this is how he recommended that we do it. And so it's a real opportunity, I think, to create a very high level conversation with business owners that will grow into tremendous margins for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you had something also, Ann Edwards?
I was just also going to add, Maureen's spot on, Heather Andrews does an excellent job on her Facebook of inviting other business owners to share what they're doing. But to our guest speaker today, she went out and asked for reviews. I would encourage each of you to pick your top vendors and be in conversation with them and do the reverse and say, listen, what can I do for your business? And may I write you a review? And I think that that's a great way to deepen the conversation and really to come from contribution, as well as then getting into what Maureen said about offering some things that maybe they need to think about because they may not have been exposed to shift and getting lean.
Right. And then Patrick Brogley, you have your hand raised. You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I was going to say, with respect to the businesses, we were on a call the other day with the ALC talking about doing videos and supporting local businesses through this time, and having an opportunity to kind of just do like a, maybe a walkthrough with the business owner and kind of talk about some of their services and why it would be important to support that local business. That was just some of the things that we have been talking about, and like a Facebook Live or something of that sort, to be able to share and encourage the growth of our local, hyper-local business markets and things of that sort, so that we can all just be more mindful going forward after the corona settles down, to be able to really kind of dig into our community and get involved. So that's kind of what I had.
And something I've done, I'll just add this, is, there's a few little local businesses. There's a little coffee shop right down here by the office I go to every day, Bomb Bomb Cafe, and a couple other, restaurants and places of business that I use a lot. So I've actually been reaching out to them because I've been doing a lot of research around all this SBA stuff and the CARES Act. And we're actually going to have a call with an expert on that, hopefully by the end of the week, letting you guys know what you can be doing around all that stuff. But I've reached out and said, hey, did you guys know that, you qualify for this sort of stuff? And a lot of times they're like, well, no, I didn't think that would have anything to do with me because it's just me and I own the business. I don't have employees or whatever. So I've been reaching out and trying to support them in that way. And then a suggestion Georgia had, particularly around restaurants and cafes and those kinds of things, is if you have some marketing dollars, right? I know we're cutting expenses, so I'm not saying go spend a bunch of new money, but if you are keeping some marketing dollars in your budget or some dollars for closing gifts, that kind of thing, you could help support local businesses by making part of that maybe gift cards to their business that people could use once all this settles down, right? So that way you're helping the business, you're giving them a little bit of cash flow, and then your clients can use that once everything's kind of relaxed and settle down a little bit. They can get out there and enjoy that restaurant, cafe, whatever it might be. So, all right, guys, we got 2 minutes left, so let's have one or two more.
I want to do a PSA. We have an extra machine and elastic, so we're making masks, as you know.
Joe. Can you start again?
Sorry?
You broke up. Can you start again?
Oh, sorry. We have an extra sewing machine and elastic, and we'll have material again. If anyone knows how to sew, but they don't have a sewing machine, I can get you a machine and elastic, and you two can help with this mask situation and be swanky helping out in the community. So just message me if you want to sew.
So yeah, so they're sewing masks for medical staff at the hospitals, and they're donating those. So if anybody has,
can I just say one thing? We have 2 realtors that are on that ship that's off the coast of Florida trying to get on. 2 realtors that some of us who have been around probably know, Bill and Gloria Weed. Gloria was the managing broker of Michael Saunders at Lakewood Ranch for a number of years.
Yeah.
And both of them are not doing well. In fact, they were on the Today Show this morning, not them, but their daughter was. So they really need some prayers. We really need to help get some help out for this ship.
Guys, tweet the president, tweet the governor, tweet every freaking person you know, and keep tweeting. Those are American citizens. They took off from Fort Lauderdale. Please help them. Gloria,
and they took off before this was a big deal too.
Okay.
And
Well,
I'll
listen,
say
guys,
this,
go ahead,
just to be positive. So, they always say dress for the job you want. Well, right now I get to dress for the job I have. So it's business on the top and mom yoga pants on the bottom. And it works and no one knows. And we should, maybe iron just the front of our shirts or only do the front of our hair because we can get away with that. So take advantage, time saving.
Joe's not even wearing pants right now.
You don't want me to stand up.
I mean, I am wearing pants, so that's a positive. So.
All right, guys, we got 1 minute to jump into our shift call. Thank you so much, Jessica, for being on here today.
Yeah.
And I'm posting in the chat the link for the Shift Zoom workshop with James Shaw. Hopefully everybody's going to jump out of this call, jump right into that next one, and we'll see you.
Thank you, Jessica.
great call, Jess.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jessica.